My name is John Goyens, former head coach of the Raccord de Baie-Comeau and the Lac St. Louis Lions. I want to thank again Aaron Wilbur of the Coaches Site for having me back on. Today we're going to be discussing what it means to play with pace, playing fast, and beyond the buzz terms. It's all about pace, pressure, practice, but none of it exists without developing poise. So buzz terms, this is where we got to understand what's our audience. Are we talking to 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds? Who are we speaking to? And what are we assuming that they know about what the definition of these buzz terms are? If the player cannot recite back to you the definition of that particular buzz term the way you understand it, then there is definitely a disconnect. And at the end of the day, the players aren't looking for the coaches with the fanciest terminology or the coaches that seem to know it all or have all the answers. They're looking for coaches that can connect with them, whether it be verbally, whether it be through demonstrations, visually. At the end of the day, they want to get better. They love the game. They want to be better. They see things. They hear things on TV. They want to replicate it. And it is up to us at all levels to make sure that we're connecting with them and not necessarily just always showing them how smart we are and how we're able to just kind of copy paste what we heard on the latest Sports Center. So what does playing with pace mean? It can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Having coached, often, pretty much 26 years at minor hockey level, 27 years in all. I've been able to work with anyone from the age of 5 or 6, boy or girl, all the way up to professional hockey players in the off season. And this goes with a mindset that it's not just about team play. It's about how individuals are developed. And it's about understanding that it's not something that you only do with the puck. I think some of those schoolyard rules that we used to grow up with, where you played on the outdoor rink or you're playing flag football, whatever sport you're playing, was when you lost possession of the object, puck, ball, or other, your number one goal was to get it back as quickly as possible. So to play with pace has to be with and without the puck. Also, playing with pace is not only up to the player that is going to recover the puck. It's up to everybody else to react accordingly. There's certain reads we've got to make. Where are we supporting? Are we supporting to the inside, to the outside, underneath? Are we stretching? By doing so, we are taking out the word hope. We don't hope little Johnny's going to make the play. We don't hope little Hillary's going to, make something out of nothing without us supporting. And supporting comes with communication. Supporting comes from non-verbal communication. But this is something that has to be practiced on a regular. You cannot just assume your team is going to play with pace because you wrote it in the game plan or it was in your pregame meeting. You have to apply this on a daily basis, whether it's an individual drill, whether it's a quote unquote skill drill, whether it's a team drill, whether it's a conditioning drill. Everything can be done with pace. What does that mean to the players if they're not practicing it on a regular basis? Because once that is a established habit, it becomes their mindset, and their ability to execute those skills in game will become so second nature to them that they're going to play confidently, and you're going to see a team grow as the season goes on. Because the sport that we play and that we love is so much more beyond the X's and O's. It's about actions and reactions. Something happens to you, to your teammate, and you've got to react. And so, again, is it with the puck? Is it without the puck? So you cannot just be in this wait and see mode all the time, because support is key. If we are not supporting, we are not helping, we are not part of the play. And that's when finger pointing happens, and you could just see it. You walk into a rink, you could watch at any level, because you can't hide on a sheet of ice, who is playing based on the coach's very strategic, very restrictive X's and O's, and which teams and which individual players have been trained to the point where it's very reactive, to the point where they could be setting the tone, if you will, setting the pace, with and without the puck. And I know I'm repeating this a lot, but it's key to making the game a lot more enjoyable. Because if we get the players to a level where they understand that playing without the puck can be very competitive situations that become fun, because competing must be fun. Working hard must be fun. Working hard just to work hard is something that becomes so dull to the athlete. If we make them understand that, or help them understand, we don't want to force it down their throats, but if we help them understand that the competition of getting that puck back could be just as fun as playing with the puck, well, then from there you start building on other aspects like awareness. Awareness is so huge. This is how we make our reads. For example, a shoulder check. Now, this is a technique. This is a something that we see used with a lot of defensemen. They're going back for pucks, recoveries, and they're checking over one shoulder. As they get up a level, maybe they're checking over two shoulders. Maybe they're throwing in a stick fake. But the thing is this cannot be only for defensemen. Puck recoveries have to stop being only practiced for defensemen. Puck recoveries happen all over the sheet of ice. And that awareness and that willingness to jump on loose pucks, to be first on loose pucks, cannot be restrictive to, in the D zone, it's the defenseman's job. In the offensive zone, it's the forward's job. In the neutral zone, it depends if it was placed behind a D or ahead of a forward. It's got to be next man up, closest player, jump, and move on. From there, we've got to understand that there's certain areas to focus on when building practices so that players can execute this on a regular basis. You've got everything from quick ups. You've got recoveries versus pressure. Not only D-men, like I just said, all players should practice, puck recoveries. Looking over shoulders, seeing what's coming. But with those recoveries, what's the next play? The next play is options. The next play is someone speaking to me and letting me know that they've got my back. Areas also to focus on are, for example, the toes and which way the toes are directed or which way the stick is directed when you don't have the puck, which obviously leads to something called angling and tracking. Now, these are these terms that players kind of roll their eyes at because they're like, I just want to work on having the puck. Well, I think if we can get players to dial into the competitive aspect of getting the puck back, well, then we could start building players that can be used in all situations. And that trust between coaches and players and coaches evolves from there. Because when we see that evolve, we see a team that evolves over a season and we see individuals evolve. Again, we go back to shoulder checks. Another aspect that I've used for many, many years now, I started it more with defensemen, but especially now it can be used basically for all five players on the ice, is look, skate, decision. So before you get to that puck, you've looked. Now, you might be in a position where you're looking up ice. You could scan the sheet of ice like a quarterback. That's awesome. But there's going to be a lot of moments in the game of hockey where your vision is limited because you're making plays where the majority of the ice is behind you. So you've got to look. By looking, which way you got to exit that situation, whether it be left or right. If it's just going to be how much room you're going to actually have to skate out of that situation. And that's when that decision's got to be made on the puck. Am I moving that puck right away? Am I wheeling with it? Am I skating with it? Am I moving it and supporting the rush? There's a lot of aspects that go into look, skate, decision. And we can't kid ourselves. On-ice conditioning has to be at the forefront. You cannot have slow practices. You cannot be standing around in practice and expect players and teams to play with pace. It's the same thing when we wonder why, certain teams and certain players don't compete, or how individually sometimes people are in the stands and just say little Bobby doesn't compete hard enough. That is unfair, because I believe that at the end of the day, it is up to us on a daily basis to provide a competitive environment. From there, some will be more competitive than others. That happens. But sometimes that player, that maybe that shy player, that player that's always saying, excuse me and sorry on the ice, if we've got that competitive environment, all of a sudden they might be jumping on their toes, playing a lot quicker. But I'll go back to on-ice conditioning. On-ice conditioning doesn't necessarily mean the old school bag skate. I will tell you that there are aspects to skating, whether it be at the end of practice, whether it be with pucks or without pucks, can be beneficial. It cannot be a tactic that is purely punitive. And if you want conditioning to be up, well, then you have to provide that environment on a regular basis in your practice. Drills have to have purpose. And one thing you could do is always have a slight explanation, the why behind your drills. Kids nowadays, not just kids, everybody, nobody debates, nobody asks as many questions as they once did amongst each other, because it's 2 clicks away, it's 1 app away, and answers are coming at a very, very rapid pace. So if we could insert the why in drills, what we're going to do is we might bring down that hesitation and the question, or that feeling that coaches get sometimes when players ask questions, of being questioned on why we're doing things. And now all of a sudden the players start understanding the purpose and how much it relates to the game that they play. So you could start drills that start without pressure, whether it be individual skills, tactical skills, whatever the case may be, whether it be team drills in terms of moving the puck or getting pucks back. And you could start without pressure, but then you got to start creating layers of pressure. You could start with 1, 2, 3. You could have coaches apply pressure, because coaches could then, manipulate certain situations by having their sticks in certain areas. But from there also, then we could also start evolving with more options to support, and we build from there. Is it 1 outlet? Is it 2 outlets? Is it more? Don't kid yourself. We cannot expect, again, quick bursts of speeds in games if we're not doing it in practices. So if your drills are starting on a whistle, well, those drills must start with quick bursts, with and without the puck, whether it be races, whether it be puck recoveries, whatever the case may be. As we evolve this, we must have an emphasis on acknowledging and encouraging poise, because we're not asking people to go like NASCAR, 200 miles an hour and turning left all the time. We're asking players to take in a lot of information, where at some levels there's physical contact, at other levels players are just trying to, maybe stick check. And we also have to understand that it can't always be D to D up, D to D up. Sometimes you're going to have to hold that puck. Sometimes you're going to have to say, one thing that we encourage a lot with our defensemen, for example, is look one way, move it the other. There's got to become a deception aspect to moving the puck while you're playing with pace. And that comes with certain drills, that comes with emphasizing poise. Communication. If players aren't calling for the puck, if players aren't hearing, then everything slows down. Communication cannot be ignored and cannot be overlooked as something that can be practiced. And once again, executing skills under pressure equals game skills. You have to correct this. We have to correct this on a regular basis. If we're not, we're passing up opportunities for these players to transfer what we're doing in practice to game situations. So there's we all know the offensive zone, we all know the neutral zone, and we all know the defensive zone. For a few years now, again, having worked with many different levels, I kind of coined this zone aspect was the area where you built the most speed with and without the puck was tops of circle to tops of circle. And whether, at an older level, you're calling this a transition zone. At a younger level, what they understand is speed zone. So whether it's been through summer hockey, whether it's been whatever the case may be, the younger level I go down to and work with, I would call this the speed zone. I think that they understand. Transition, we're starting to lose them. Get to that age where it's, say 12 and up, transition zone. And that they start understanding rush for, rush against, entries, back checking, tracking, all that type of stuff where, again, we've got to make sure that the language that we're using connects with these players. So these are some of the drills on quick ups. This is a standard drill that I've used for a lot of years. Really, you got the D starting here in the middle of the ice, D1 on either side, start on the dot. On the whistle, they tag up. A puck is placed behind them by either a defenseman in the circle or a coach. And the F1, stretch F1, will come back inside dots. So supporting inside dots, catching a puck on the fly, or catching an indirect puck on a fly, which again, these are things that are beneficial because if a stick is in a lane, well, it's just as important to work on indirect passes, the way we give them and the way we receive them, so that we can get our toes up ice as quickly as possible. After F1 shoots, he's going to loop around and he's going to support back through the middle. D1 is going to come back, repeat the same thing, but now F2, which you can see in blue here, is in a stretch position. For myself, stretch players should be 50-50 to the wall and 50-50 to the dot. Why? Because I don't want them to only just stand there and tip pucks. Especially at the younger levels, get these players to recognize the pressure. And if they're stuck on the wall or their butt's on the wall or their heels or their skates are on the wall, they're easier to check and it's harder for them to get going. So get them to face the puck and work on spinning either towards the outside, whether it's catching it, stepping into the inside, maybe sending an indirect. And from there, again, it depends on the level you're working on. Now you're creating that 2-on-0. What are you emphasizing? Are you emphasizing a shot on net? Are you emphasizing shoot to score, second man drives net? Are you shooting for tips? There are many aspects that could evolve from here, but that's the gist of the first two parts. Now the defenseman's job is never done. Sprint to the blue line inside dots. That right there, besides the offensive aspect of the game, that right there is where you close your gap, is when your team has the puck. Start inside dots. Third puck, once that second shot is taken, closest forward. Not you go or you go, closest forward. Closest player recovers puck, goes low to high. We have a shot on net. Whoever passes it is now hunting for rebounds. Whoever's net presence is trying to take away the goalie's eyes and work on deflections. Sorry for that. Here we have a simple drill, not as many players. A lot of times what I'll have is all the extra players ready to go will be literally standing on the bench, not sitting, standing with your color and ready to go. Because once this play evolves and goes one direction and crosses that blue line, that offensive blue line, well, then I want that next four-man group ready to go. So for example, here we've got D1 is on the dot. He or she will sprint to the red line, stop. The two forwards here, F1 and F2, are with D1. They're going to place a puck behind the defenseman, and as that defenseman goes back to play the puck, this red forward is going to apply pressure all the way. The red forward's job is not to eliminate the passing options by taking away the wall or taking away the inside. Their job is to hassle that defenseman as much as possible. F1 and F2, support underneath if need be, support to the inside. The outside forward, come off the wall, because there's a good chance that under pressure, you're going to get an indirect pass. You're going to have to spin with it, make a play, and now we're moving quickly up the ice. variations to this. Once F1 and F2 have that puck, we could be going down on a 2-on-1. We could be doing a 2-on-0. We could have the original D that moves the puck up become the third man on the rush. Evolution of this drill is you add a second defenseman, is you add 2 forecheckers, and we could evolve it all the way up to a 5-on-5 drill. Here we've got a standard neutral zone recovery drill. So we'll start with, to not have defensemen shoot pucks in practice can be a real lapse and a real miss on a lot of coaches to have defensemen shoot pucks. So we have a simple drill starting out of the corner. We have F1 in the corner, F2 at the net. We've got 2 defensemen at the blue line. Whistle goes. You could have D1 sprint from inside dot to outside dot. And again, from here, we could be working on a direct pass. The higher level you go and the efficiency of a indirect low to high, so those defensemen could work on low to high one-timers, could really speed up the game. It adds to the pace that you play with in the offensive zone. As this happens, F2 must drift towards this shooting lane. That way, they're working on different layers of deflections. F1 goes towards the net, comes back, recovers the second puck. So on the second puck, that F1 is going to skate up towards the wall. D1, after their shot, is just going to surf up here and apply pressure. This F1 is not trying to beat the player. Their number one job is they're going to place a puck into the neutral zone. Now, F2 has started to skate to mirror basically F1. D1 has started to close to the inside. Now between F2 and D1, there has to be communication. At the younger levels, I would say to begin with D recovering pucks, F2 support through the middle, then goes wide, gets tagged with an outside pass, F1 finds the middle, you've got a 2-on-0. Again, you could finish with a second point shot, excuse me. As the levels move up, as the age groups move up, we can now have a forward recover a puck and kick it out to a D. You could have this finish with a 2-on-1. You could have it finish with a 3-on-1. But there's evolutions to this. There's layers to this type of stuff, and they're all aspects of what happens on a regular basis in games. Here's another simple drill. You have 5 players standing in D zone coverage. You have 3 offensive players. Coach is standing on the side. Coach could at any given point give it to the forward, give it to the D. The shot for the purpose of the drill must be low. Nobody's trying to block the shot, must be low. We want the goalie to steer the puck somewhere, whether it be to the corner, whether it be to the half wall. And that's what you see by these lines. In this case, it's going to go to the half wall. In this case, it would go to the corner. Well, if it goes to the half wall, we can't expect the defenseman to be first on the puck. And you're going to see this, you're going to see all these drills basically evolve in game clips that I've cut, whether it be from my previous season in Baie-Comeau or even some clips that I've tagged from NHL games throughout the playoffs. And now it's, some people might call it a jailbreak, but at the end of the day, it's support. It's all about support. So in this case, F2 goes and gets the puck, D2 supports on the inside, F3 slashes, F1 goes wide. And you're going to see this very, very clearly in a couple clips coming up here soon. From the neutral zone, playing quick, you could have 5 players starting basically on their side of the red line. On the whistle, the D tag up. Again, coach could decide, make a pass directly to the defenseman, could place the puck behind the defenseman. When this happens, we're going to be looking for a D up, no D to D on the first puck. We're going to look for a quick up to either outside, cross ice, or middle. We're going to have a zone entry. All 5 players are at the net. You play out the puck until you hear a whistle. On the whistle, everybody's coming out. So diagram number 2 over here. And as the defenseman starts skating past the coach, now you could add different elements. Are you flipping the puck and the player has to bring it down with their hand, knocking it down with their stick? Again, age and level appropriate. You're dealing with 8-year-olds. I do not recommend flipping pucks at their heads and expecting them to catch it. We're going to end up with a broken finger. So age appropriate. However, you could still then place pucks behind them, place pucks on their stick. On the receiving end of the puck, D1's going to move it to D2, so we will have a D to D. The middle support on the D to D, first of all, their goal is to make sure that their toes touch the bottom of the circle here. The other part is on the D to D, they will exchange and go outside away from the puck, which I know is not as traditional as a lot of people make it out to be. There'll be a crisscross. We have a zone entry. We have a shot. And then from there, up to the coach. Age appropriate, we could place a third puck, low to high. We could place a fourth puck, low to high. And then this could evolve into your offensive zone concepts. And here's a simple drill of what I call a 3-on-2. You've got your F1 tracking right here, trying to create a 3-on-3 situation. And you have your two forwards all the way back here, F2 and F3, who need to move their butts and get all the way back to the home plate. Get back inside, get back to the house. Their number one goal is steal the puck. The moment we steal the puck, we're gone. We're going the other way. And again, it doesn't matter, left wing, right wing. Stop pigeonholing players to the lanes and allow players to understand that they can fill the lane closest to them. And if someone else is already there, then get moving elsewhere. Get moving and start crisscrossing and exchanging. That doesn't mean you're cheating. It just means you're supporting in a different fashion, in a less straight line robotic fashion. So from there, we'll go to our video clips. Apologize for the lag here, but you're going to see all the drills and all the aspects that we discussed in the previous slides play out amongst all these drills. So you see the two players highlighted right here. That's a winger going down, receives the puck, has support in the middle from a defenseman, has a stretch option, ends up in the back of the net. NHL highlight just from last series, very similar. This time they go to D2, bang up for a stretch, bang in the back of the net. 5 players. I've highlighted the defenseman who's in the slot. So there's a chip out and a race. If this defenseman, number 15, does not skate all the way through, 29 never gets open. Quick D to D. Right here, pause. That's Palat on the wall. Palat is ahead of the puck. If he's playing without poise and only with pace, he goes offside. Great exchange right here, and here he comes. Sometimes being late to the party is even more important than being early. Here, a goalie breakout. I'll rewind this one more time because we're going to see the emphasis on Blake Coleman here at the bottom of the screen. He recognizes the situation, recognizes space, and he gets up ice. Tag ups, very similar to some of the drills that we already discussed. Here, Baie-Comeau is going to lose the draw against one of the best teams in the country. Those are two 17-year-olds that are highlighted right here. But you still see that basically there's nothing much going on for Moncton. They're going to try and stretch. Defenseman's going to steal the puck. Here he's going to tag up right to the circle, kick it out, create that 2-on-1, very similar to what we saw from Tampa. Right here, I've highlighted D2, Eric Chernak. Right here, it looks like nothing much is happening. But right here, Sergachev, with one quick little play, not overhanding the puck, is going to bypass the first 3 forecheckers of the New York Islanders and watch at the end of the day who's going to get the shot on net. They're not going to score here, but that's playing with pace. Your defensemen are just as responsible. I'm going to rewind this right here. At the bottom of your screen, or the middle of the screen right here, that's a defenseman who stepped up on the Moncton player. This right here is, quote unquote, our centerman who's now recovering pucks. This is why the emphasis and the importance of having forwards recover pucks just as much as defensemen plays out in this scenario. Kick it out. Defenseman coming from the bench recognizes he's got to play it, get involved. The other emphasis, get the puck back. Boom. 5 players in the picture. We hear that ad nauseum. 5 guys in the pick, 5 guys in the pick. Well, we stole the puck, we moved the puck, we had a chance to score, and now we're moving back as quickly as possible. One little tap. Nothing like hearing a little bit of crowd noise. Right here, quick up, bypass. Again, it's not a goal, but that's pace. Right here, you got these 2 players. Jamie Benn, he's covering for his defenseman. He's coming back, his awareness. But at this point, Radulov's going to look over his shoulder. He's going to recognize what's available. And on the back end, out of the screen right now, Tyler Seguin has gone for a line change. Pavelski's come on. He's posted up, but he's put himself in a position to protect the puck and make a play. Overtime winner. Five guys in the picture. I've highlighted D2 right here. Why? Because he's going to be the middle drive. Little chip up the wall. They're not always pretty. If you hesitate to back check, it will bury you. So again, to emphasize, playing with pace starts in practice. Buzz terms can muddy the waters. Make sure the terminology and the verbiage you're using at all your levels is as clear as possible. Thanks for having me, and have a great season.